Hello everyone, and welcome to Toon'd In, where I discuss cartoons, no matter how new, no matter how old, no matter the cost. I, of course, am Josh the Fox Mills, as always, and it's October, a month for being spooky. And as such, this month's Toon'd In is all about being spooky. My personal top 10 scariest Disney moments. At least for me. These are my opinions, but, you know. I felt this was a thing to do for October. Hopefully this will be the last Toon'd In before I actually can have the new house and set up. And we'd actually be able to see me and stuff. Chernobog from Fantasia. Night on Bald Mountain was perhaps my favorite of all of the segments on the original Fantasia. Even as a kid, this was, without a doubt, this was scary, but not... It didn't impact me nearly as much as one might think. This is why this is only number 10 on my list. That being said, this is the frigging devil coming out of a mountain. Very cool imagery that would probably scar a bunch of other children. But still, yes, you know you're going to be having a good list when the devil himself only makes 10. Stepmother's Glare from Cinderella. Oh yes. Lady Tremaine's, that look of absolute contempt and disapproval sticks with you. That expression just burns itself into the back of your retinas, and it does not go away immediately. It stays. Although Cinderella was never meant to be a terrifying animated film, yeah, that actually hit me as a kid, and still kinda does now a little bit. Definitely worthy of the number 9 spot. The Mermaid Drowning Attempt from Peter Pan. I had almost forgotten about this. But yes, there was a point in Peter Pan where Wendy was nearly killed by a pack of mermaids that were playfully trying to drag her into the water. If you know anything about mermaids, both out of the myth of mermaids and the book of Peter Pan, yeah, those girls were trying to kill Wendy. Playfully, with childlike giggles. And that's messed up. So, yeah. It's one of those things that I didn't think about it as a kid. But now that I do think about it as an adult, it is kind of what the heck, and it does scare me a little. Not, it's not traumatizing, but yeah, I'll put it at 8. I'll put it at a number 8 because it's messed up. The Evil Queen's Transformation, Snow White. Oh yes, the Evil Queen from Snow White decides to take the guise of a old beggar woman to try to get to Snow White. It wasn't just some crazy suit either, though she uses her magic to take such a form, and it is graphic. That change is legitimately terrifying, especially to a child. Yeah. So yes, the Evil Queen's transformation just seeing the hair whiten, the withering skin, the actual clasping of her throat, suggesting a few, at the very least, a lot of discomfort. Yeah, that's the sort of thing that could traumatize a kid. Clayton's End from Tarzan. In his attempt to finally kill off the ape man Tarzan, the hunter Clayton falls through a bunch of vines. And although we do not see it on camera, we do see the silhouette hanging himself to death. As if you... This basically just proved that modern Disney still had the same touch. Because that was a definite, what the heck, Disney moment. Dr. Facilier's End from The Princess and the Frog. Oh, modern Disney, you still got it. What's worse than a villain dying technically off-screen? Well, how about the villain dying on-screen and being dragged into hell? The Shadow Man met his end by the hands of the very shadows that he sought to control. The Horned King from The Black Cauldron. Inspiration for the Lich in Adventure Time is incredibly terrifying for the House of Mouse. After all, this is a straight-out necromancer, skeleton wizard dude. The eerie spirits of the dead that he calls are just unnerving to an incredible degree. In the number 4 slot here, this is where we start getting into the really scary, really traumatizing moments. And this is nowhere near the top. Pink Elephants on Parade from Dumbo. The infamous scene in which Dumbo gets drunk and hallucinates like crazy. This has been well documented as a very traumatizing moment for children. And even some adults. This definitely stuck with me as a child. And I can't say it couldn't mess me up as an adult. I mean, what the heck is wrong with you? This is beyond silly. This is straight out nightmare fuel. What else can I say but ugh? The Banshee from Darby O'Gill and the Little People. I know many of you are like, what? I've never heard of this movie. But it was one of the live-action creations of Disney back in the day. It was perhaps the movie that started Sean Connery's career here in America. Darby O'Gill and the Little People was basically about Irish myths, specifically leprechauns. But there was one aspect of it that was absolutely terrifying. The Banshee. This ghostly woman that appeared various times in the movie is one of the most terrifying things I ever experienced from Disney. Now, looking at it, you might tell me, Josh, the production value is so bad. She looks so unreal. Exactly. Imagine seeing that exactly the way it is, but in real life. If it appears in actual real life, looking like that, you can't blame production values. It looks unnatural, and as a ghost, she'd be unnatural. The Banshee should look exactly like that if they ever remade Darby O'Gill. Litwick's transformation, Pinocchio. If we want to talk about messed up, let's talk Pinocchio. When Pinocchio winds up in Pleasure Island, the retreat for bad little boys, he encounters a rebellious little scamp named Litwick. It became apparent very quickly that Pleasure Island was a trap for these wayward kids. As the drinks that they were encouraged to imbibe were apparently laced with this strange transformative substance, meant to turn these boys into donkeys, to be resold into slavery. But it's okay, because they're animals. It's not okay. But we all know that. I mean, you know, the guy who ran this whole thing, he is not a hero. But the actual transformation that they animated for poor little Litwick is one of the absolute most disturbing things. A very graphic transformation, including the fingers curling up into hooves, and all the while he is begging for anybody to help him, to make this stop, save him. And the thing that drove this up to my #1 slot is, the more I think about it as an adult, the worse this gets. As an adult, as much as this traumatized me as a kid, as an adult, now I think about some of the implications that the last sentient thought that Litwick had before becoming a full-on donkey was desperately begging for his mother. Yes, anyone to help him, but specifically his mother. His last thought, beyond being a mindless animal, his last thought was mother. And this chills me to my core. That essentially Litwick dies in front of us. The person of Litwick is gone. There's just a donkey. And he essentially died screaming, begging for his mother. And that's why Litwick's transformation is my #1 for this list. And, well, I don't know if that wound up being scary or depressing, but it was still a fun list to go through. What was your guys' scariest Disney moment? I'd love to hear in the comments below. But until next time, this was Josh the Fox Mills telling you to stay tuned.